Hello everyone, Oli here, and this is my review of Frontier in Space, the third story of the 10th season of classic Doctor Who, starring John Pertwee as the third Doctor. Frontier in Space is the 67th story overall, it's 6 episodes long, and is written by Malcolm Hawke. Frontier in Space is also the first part of the Dalek War duology, and alongside the following story, Planet of the Daleks, this story was intended to rival the 12-part Dalek Master Plan by linking both stories together and making it a continuous story with some links here and there. So, the plot of Frontier in Space is as follows. It's the year 2450, and a fragile peace exists between the great empires of Earth and Draconia. The TARDIS materializes aboard an Earth cargo ship which comes under attack. Arrested and accused of espionage, the Doctor is sentenced to life imprisonment on the Moon, but salvation arrives in an unexpected form. Can the Doctor and Jo stop the Master's plans to provoke a galactic war and reveal the deadly enemy waiting for the chance to destroy both empires? So that is the plot for Frontier in Space. And your Frontier in Space is an incredible story, and it's actually one of my favorites from the Pertwee era. And I would say the story is very underrated, but it does have its faults that actually prevent this story from being a perfect 10 out of 10. The overall production of the story was great. I liked the world building of the future Earth and the bit of the planet Draconia and the Ogron's home planet. I also liked the location filming of the quarry that was actually used for the Ogron's home planet, and I also liked the sets as well, such as the Draconian throne room where the Emperor ruled and the Moon Prison. It looked basic, but it still looked great. The music was great as well. I definitely fitted in with the tense themes of the story as well. The script was really good, some really good dialogue, and the direction by Paul Bernard I would actually say was very well done, and I think this is definitely one of the best directions he's done in Doctor Who. The plot of the story seemed basic, but the execution was very well done, and the first 5 minutes of episode 1 actually got me into the story, and I would actually say that the tension actually rivals that of the War Games back in season 6. It was very good. The pacing was very well done. The story was able to hold on to the plot of the story up until episode 6, where I think the momentum was lost a bit, and I think the pacing started slowing down, and then had an unexpected rise towards the end, and I think it was kind of rushed as well. Especially that ending, but I'll get more into that later. I always say the story has some incredible moments, and I liked how the crew members aboard the cargo ship, or the Doctor and Jo, were draconians at the start because of the Master's fear device, and I liked the scene where the Master was trying to intimidate Jo by trying to use his fear device on Jo, and we definitely see like a rogues gallery of a sort of the monsters her and the Doctor faced over her time with the Doctor, such as the Solonian mutant, a sea devil, and the Drashigs. And Jo actually saw a Drashig at the beginning, but then she sees another Drashig when the Master is using the fear machine against her. I also like the ending of the story where the Master shoots the Doctor but ends up grazing him because the Ogrons caused the rockets because of the Master's fear device. Rushed, yes. Chaotic, also yes, but I love it. To the performances of this story, I think John Pertwee did a great job in this story, and you can tell he actually enjoyed making this story as well. The Doctor actually gets to do some incredible things as well, such as the bit of space work he does on the Master's ship that the Master actually stole when Jo was like trying to stall the Master in a way to try and keep him busy, or to keep the Master thinking that the Doctor and Jo are having like a long, nice conversation. I'll get more into that scene later, but it was nice visuals used that the Doctor was like on the ship trying to like do some stuff. But yeah, it was quite nice to see, and I like the frustration that he had when he and Jo were countlessly accused of being spies for the Draconians, and nobody really listened to it. So that really added to the tension of the story. I liked the scene where he was comforting Jo before he went for his mind probe, when he told Jo about the story when he was delegate for a peace conference that involved a horse with yellow spots or something like that. Amidst all the tension, it was a nice little scene between him and Jo, and I think that's what John Pertwee and Keith Murray do very well. There can be very tense moments, but then there'll just be like a little nice scene that they'll have. And I also like the comment with the Doctor made on Joe's outfit saying, "Who are you fighting tonight?" It was a nice little scene, and I quite like that. Speaking of Katie Manning, I think she was incredible in the story as well. Joe was written quite well, very well in the story, and it really showed in Katie's performance. Joe actually had some stuff to do in the story, and it really paid off. And I really liked the episode 5 cliffhanger when the master was trying to hypnotize her, but Joe actually trained herself to recite nursery rhymes to fill her mind to make the master's hypnotism ineffective. And it's also a nice little callback to her first encounter with the master back in Terror of the Autons when the master actually hypnotized her and she almost fucking blew up unit. Manning and the god actually did that scene very well, and I think they do. I think this is probably one of the rare companion master relationships in a way. Well, enemy relationships. I also like the scene where the doctor kept instructing her to talk, to carry on talking while he would grab the spacesuit and so the doctor's able to do stuff. And boy, did she talk! And before that, I liked how the doctor was telling Joe about the lead up to his exile that happened in the war games, and I liked how she thought that unit work was basically going to be going to fancy parties, hanging out with James Bond-esque characters, but in reality, she was just running around doing work for the Brigadier. And it was also another funny scene because Joe kept on talking and talking and talking, and the master was reading his book on the War of the Worlds, and he just turned off the audio so he can just read his book. And I actually like that scene because Joe kept on talking, and then the master didn't really hear them. I think he noticed what was going on, and then he saw what happened, and that's what led to the episode 4 cliffhanger. Into our side cast, I think there were quite many, but I think the main ones were, to start off with, the President of Earth. Basically, what it says in the scene, she has no name. I think the expanded media and the novelization of this book was actually called Doctor Who, and the Space War actually called her President Vera. She was an understanding woman compared to her right hand man, General Williams, and when the Doctor and Joe were still under accusation, she even wanted to exercise leniency for Joe if she had actually would come clean to where she came from and who they were, but obviously they were telling the truth, but no one actually heard them. But she was still a fairly good character, and I do wish she was used a little bit more, but she couldn't really do much because she's a president of Earth. If anything would probably would have put her in any harm's way. General Williams, as I mentioned before, he was a bit more ruthless compared to the president, and he was a bit of a dickhead. And but when the Doctor and Joe clear their names, he does actually help the Doctor to save Joe and defeat the Master. And he was also the cause of the diplomatic tensions between Earth and Draconia because in the past he ordered the destruction of the Draconian spaceship because he believed they were going to attack, even though they actually weren't. And I liked his character; it was quite interesting. The Draconian Prince, he was the Prince of Draconia and assisted the Doctor, Williams, and Joe to try and stop the Master. And I must say, the Draconians actually look really good in the story, and I like how alien they looked. Patel, he was a prisoner in the lunar penal colony, and his crime was sabotaging a military base. He befriended the Doctor, even though he was only there for only the prison episodes. He made a very good impact in my eyes, and I do wish that the Doctor was able to take him along for at least other parts of the story. And we also had Professor Dale. He was a member of a peace party, and he was in prison for protesting against the war between Earth and Draconia. He and the Doctor actually attempted to escape, but then Cross, a prisoner who was pretty much a fellow prisoner who was also an unofficial prison governor, tried to kill them. He was an okay character, but once again, he only appeared in the Moon Prison episodes. Enemy of this story, and the enemy was of course the Master. He was the cause of the flare-up intentions between Earth and Draconia with the use of his fear device. And he actually works with the Organs, or the Organs actually work for him to make sure the plan actually works. And it's actually revealed at the end of this story that the Master was actually working with the Daleks in exchange for the Master taking over Earth. So before I get properly onto the Master, the Daleks only appear in the last episode, and they show up on the Ogon planet and they leave after a few minutes. And their brief appearance does set up the following story, Planet of the Daleks. The Daleks were okay in the story. They definitely looked and they sounded better as they did in Day of the Daleks. And the Ogrons themselves have actually improved, in my opinion. They actually headlines, a bit of a backstory of a creature they fear. They even have their own home planet as well, and I think this is probably the Ogron's best story. Even though there's only two of them, I think this is probably the second book or the best Ogron story. And it would be nice if we had got in some point down the line that we got a story of the Ogrons themselves in the TV series. I think they might have had in Big Finish, but I'm not entirely sure. But let me know if you're a Big Finish fan and if they actually had their own stories. So, and on to the big bad himself, the Master. Despite the fact he doesn't show up until episode 3, this is without a doubt one of the best Master stories and definitely one of the best Delgado performances as the Master. He's actually very menacing and dastardly compared to his previous appearance in the Time Monster. And I also like the moment when the Master showed up and he was actually telling the Earth President General Williams that he's sworn to like ensure law and order in the universe and stuff like that. And the Doctor was like, "Are you feeling alright, old chap?" So unfortunately, this is Roger Delgado's last appearance as the Master, as he dies in a car accident in Turkey a short while after Frontier in Space aired. So as I did with the previous Doctors, I'm going to say a few words about Roger Delgado's Master. He was an incredible Master, and he was definitely everything the Master should be. Suave with a hint of psycho, and the Delgado's Master definitely resembled a Bond villain in a way, from the smooth talking to the Blofeld-esque outfit, and was very fitting because the Proteus era is actually associated with the James Bond franchise. I personally think that there's no Master that can actually match Roger Delgado's Master in terms of greatness, and that's one of the reasons why I'm not really too fond of Master stories that come after this story, because Roger Delgado to me is the Master and always will be the Master for me. Even though I think Anthony Ainsley, he was a good Master, but I think he was too pantomimish, and I think his best performance is in Survival. John Sim, and I think I haven't really seen the season 3 finale in ages, and I think the end of the time, I think the Master was a bit too psycho, and I think Michelle Gomez Missy, who's the female Master, I think better than Sim, but I do think she was a bit too comedic. And Sacha Dhawan, I think he's probably the best Master in New Who, because I think he definitely did the cycle very well, but obviously not as great as Delgado in a way. But the next time we actually do see the Master is in season 14's The Deadly Assassin, which is set on Gallifrey, and that's a story I actually think is rather good as well. So on to the faults I have with Frontier in Space, and this is the reason why the story isn't exactly getting a perfect 10 out of 10. And I think the reason is the ending. It was a good ending, but it was very rushed, considering how episode 6 had a very slow pace compared to the other episodes, and then I was looking at the time, and I think 20 minutes left, and I think there was like 4 minutes left to go, and I was like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden it just ruckus with the Ogrons, and then the Master shoots the Doctor, and then the Joe rushes the Doctor back to the TARDIS, and the TARDIS dematerializes, and it was just, yeah. But I think the ending was supposed to set up Planet of the Daleks, or it's pretty much in a way to keep the door open for the Master to return. But obviously, Roger Delgado unfortunately died, and he couldn't actually return. So to conclude, Frontier in Space is basically Doctor Who does political thriller in the space way, and it does it very well. I really enjoyed the story, and I give Frontier in Space a 9.5 out of 10. My next review will be the final part of the Dalek War duology, Planet of the Daleks, so look out for that. Thank you for watching this review. Let me know what you thought of Frontier in Space and this review, and if you haven't done so already, feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel and like and watch my other reviews. And now officially I'm on Discord, so the Discord server will be on the link will be on the description below. Until then, see you later.